Well, welcome to another Memphis Monday 142. Today we're going to be making a breadboard. I guess you'd call it a cutting. It could be used as a cutting board or a serving board or a cheese board or whatever you want to use. I don't really have a plan yet, so I can't really talk about the plan, but except that we're going to try to make it out of firewood. So that we're going to kick it up a notch, and we're going to try to take some really rough lumber and try to mill it down to some usable form to make our cutting board. But we're not going to get anything done unless we do what? That's right, we need to knock off that chit chat and get to work. This is the firewood we're going to try to, I've already cut these pieces right here, but we're going to plane them and join them and cut them and everything. Okay, first piece of wood I'm going to try to deal with here is this piece that's got the bark all over it. I'll take the bark off. What I'll do is, you can see on this board, that line across there, that's a little bit over 1.5 inches. I will plane this down until it's about 1.5 inches across. It's about 1.5 inches thick, and then I can cut my board off you know, where it intersects the radius here. Yeah, plane it's down to 1.5 inches. Looks like we're going to get a pretty good board out of it. Now what I do is go along this edge here on the joiner and put a flat edge on it so I can run it through the table saw. Now that edge we just put on there with the joiner theoretically is 90 degrees to this plane portion here. So I can run this edge along my table saw and begin to shape this into a board. Now you can see I have two edges here that I can saw from, and so I can cut this board here as big as I can make it. So out of the big piece of wood, this is the piece we got, but it looks pretty nice. It's 1.5 inches thick. We'll plane it down to 5/4 later, but let's work on the next one. I have my stock roughed out. It's 5/4 thick, and I think it's white oak, but I'm not sure. I'm going to be holding it together or lining it up anyway with these biscuits. I put double biscuits in between the boards, so that's what I'm doing now. I'm deciding where I'll put the biscuits. What I'll do is I'll put biscuits in one side, dry fit it, flip it over, and then put the biscuits on the other side. Here I'm dry fitting everything. What I'll do, this will make sure all my biscuits are the right size and they're not too wide. And then I'll flip it over and mark my second row of biscuits. I'm gluing across 1.25 inches here, and I got 6 biscuits in each joint. So this, I think this thing's going to be plenty strong. We're about ready to turn this thing into a breadboard. We'll let it dry a little bit. That the biscuits really kept it all aligned. It's nice and flat. Glue up's done. What I'm doing now is cutting a radius, and no math or magic here. All I'm doing is trying to get as much of the board in as I can. So I just set up my compass to the shortest board here and put it right on the shortest part of the radius, and put my focal point in the center, and then I can cut the radius. Of course, this thing's going to be used in food preparation, so it can't have any cracks or anything in it. So I'm mixing up some filler to fill up that one little crack. You know, you want those little knots and stuff in there for give the piece some character, but it can't be a real crack. It has to just maybe look like a crack. I got you zoomed in. Now I'm going to moosh this down in there with my fingers. I just got to be careful I don't get it all around on the wood, because it's a bear to sand off. And there's our little split. I sanded it off, put a little butcher block oil on it here so we can see it. The last few minutes I've been sanding it. You can see it. You can't even see any of the any of the joints, except for maybe right down here. But it's coming out just perfect. What I did is I started with 220 sandpaper, then I switched to 320. And then I finished with 400. I haven't put the butcher block oil on it yet because I want to put a groove right here in the end to act as a little ledge for grabbing a hold of it. And I'm going to use this round bit here and run it along this edge. Well, there's a little groove. All that little groove does is kind of give us a little ledge there to wrap our fingers around when we pick this thing up from the sides. Okay, the next job is to rub this thing down with some stuff called butcher block oil and finish. You're supposed to rub it on with a. This is when you make cutting boards and butcher blocks and serving blocks and all that stuff. You got to have a food grade kind of oil, and this is it right here. Put it on with a soft rag. You wait 6 hours, and then you can lightly sand it and put the second coat on. Well, there's our breadboard, 5/4 thick, made from 5 pieces of firewood that was air dried for about 2 years. It's white oak. Has nice little ledges across here. Has 6 biscuits in each joint. The joinery is with 5/4, that's 1.25 inches thick. You have so much gluing surface, and it makes such a good connection between boards. You can see that for the most part you can't even see the joints at all. It looks like one piece of wood. Of course, a lot of that has to do with matching the grain when you lay up your stock. Well, I guess that'll do it for another Memphis Monday 142, making a breadboard. You might ask yourself, why'd I go to all the trouble of making it out of firewood? Well, you can't get 1.5 inch thick stock. You probably noticed if you watch a lot of woodworking videos, a lot of the heavy hitters out there get all their stock from a sawmill, or they mill it themselves, because standard dimensional lumber you get at like Lowe's or Home Depot, or it's not 1.5 inches thick, and I needed, for a breadboard, it needs to be at least 5/4. Sometimes they're 2 inches thick. So anyway, the takeaways here, we put in double biscuits on all the joints. This is 5 pieces of wood. The joinery, because of the 5/4 thickness, makes real good joints, and you can see that the joints are almost invisible. We put the nice little carrying edge or lifting edge on the ends. We sanded it down with a series of 220, 320, and 400 hand sandpaper. We filled in a little knot with wood flour and epoxy, and we used butcher block oil, the stuff you're supposed to use for butcher blocks and anything that's food grade. All right, instead of rambling on, I guess that's it. Like and favorite and share and comment and all the stuff you do on the internet. But most of all, make sure you're back here next week for another exciting Memphis Monday. Thanks for playing along.